Good afternoon. I will call to order this special meeting of the Minneapolis City Planning Commission for November 5th. My name is Matt Brown. I serve as president of the commission. I'm joined today by Commissioners Ellison, Schrader, Lupke-Pierre, Sweezy, and Rockwell. First item of business today is to approve the actions from the October 29th meeting. Commissioners, may I have a motion to approve those actions?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. Next, we will organize the agenda, determine which items we'll discuss and which will be considered on consent. So starting at the top, item 1 is at 208 and 216 Oliver Avenue South. That's a rezoning and a minor subdivision. Is anyone wishing to speak in opposition to or modify the staff recommendation on item 1? Seeing no one, we'll put item 1 on consent. Item 2 is at 2030 Sheridan Avenue South. That's an expansion of a non-conforming use. Is anyone wishing to speak in opposition to or modify the staff recommendation on item 2? Seeing no one, we'll put that on consent. Item 3 is the New Way Women's Recovery Center at 2104 Stevens Avenue, conditional use permit and site plan review for a community residential facility. Is anyone wishing to speak in opposition to or modify the staff recommendation on item 3? Seeing no one, we'll put that on consent. And finally, item 4 is the Bobby and Steve's Auto World Nicollet at 5801 through 5827 Nicollet Avenue and 9 through 15 East 58th Street. Several applications related to a convenience store automotive facility. We'll discuss item 4. So our agenda as amended is as follows. Items 1, 2, and 3 will be considered on consent, and we'll discuss item 4. Commissioners, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. And that motion carries. We have no committee of the whole consent agenda today, so we'll move on to our public hearings. And at this time, I'll open the public hearing for the items on the consent agenda. Again, that's items 1, 2, and 3. Is anyone here for any of those items? 1, 2, or 3? You wish to speak on those items, or? Okay. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing for the items on the consent agenda. And commissioners may have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. Next, we'll move on to our 1 item for discussion, item 4, and staff is Ms. Smith.
Good evening, Commissioners and President Brown. So this is an application that would include a rezoning for 5827 Nicollet. That would include that parcel in the overall Bobby and Steve site. There's a conditional use permit that's required just to amend the existing conditional use permit for the auto convenience facility, minor auto repair facility, and car wash. They are returning the variance to exceed the maximum parking, so the site plan that they've provided and that is in your packets does comply with the maximum parking requirement. There's a variance that's required for the vacuum facility location, which I'll get into. That's the only application that is probably going to be opposed by the applicant by the staff recommendation, and then the site plan review for the auto service use. So here's a view of the site at 58th and Nicollet, the southeast portion. You can kind of see in this aerial that there are already cars that are parking in this grassy area of the site. So this is the area where the applicant wishes to add 34 parking spaces for a total of 63. And here are a few images provided by the applicant. Just so you can see the inside and outside. So this is, Here is the site plan and landscaping plan provided by the applicant. So you can see that there's screening on all sides of the site. Staff is requiring a condition of approval to have a 6-foot screen along the south side. Right now there's a retaining wall and also some shrubs on the outside of the retaining wall, so we just want to make sure that it is fully screened as above the retaining wall. So I'll discuss the vacuum facility. So we're recommending denial of this variance. The variance in particular is of the standard that vacuum facilities shall be located in an enclosed structure or located away from any residential use to avoid the impacts of noise. So currently the vacuum facility is located along the southern portion of their existing parking lot. So it's in between two parking spaces. And so it would just be relocated toward the Nicollet side of the site. So you can see it right here. So staff does not find that there's a practical difficulty in not enclosing it or keeping it toward the residential uses. They could propose to keep it in an enclosed facility or move it even further away from residential uses, such as toward the north end of the parking lot. And moving the vacuum facility to this location actually moves it closer to the residential uses to the south. So that's the basis of the staff recommendation. In the findings that the applicant provided, they said that all the screening that they're doing is going to help to screen the visibility and some of the noise that's going to be an outcome of having the vacuum facility here and on the outside. And staff doesn't find that there would be like a huge impact to the health, safety, or welfare, but that there are not practical difficulties in not complying. If you have any other questions, I'm here to answer them. There are also a few extra comments that we've received since the publication of the staff report that are in your packets tonight. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Right. And Commissioner Rockwell.
Can you just point with the mouse on the map where the vacuum is currently?
Yeah, so it's probably around here.
Okay.
So it'd be moving here.
Yeah, okay, cool, thanks.
Any further questions of staff? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing on this item, and I'd like to ask the applicant to speak first. So if you'd like to come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Planning Commissioners, my name is Matt Pavick with Civil Site Group. My address is 224 Oakwood Road in Hopkins. We are the civil engineer and landscape architect working on the project. Just real quickly, we concur with the staff's recommendation for all of the approvals for the site. We've been working for a number of months with staff, working through all the details, and we think that the project ended up really nice with the desired outcome for the property owner. We just had one sticking point on this vacuum cleaner facility, and it's just a deal where it just worked out better with the new site plan to just shift it to a different location. We would just leave it in your hands to determine if you think it's appropriate or not. So it's something that they'd prefer to have. It's a nice accent to their car wash facility. It's a nice thing for people to be able to utilize when they get their cars washed. And it is an existing condition, in our opinion. So we just ask that also be approved. But again, we'll defer to your judgment on that. So also quickly, the owners are here if you have any questions for them.
Right. And Commissioner Lupke-Pierre.
Yeah, hi. I had a question. Just because we are required legally to have certain findings regarding are there practical difficulties involved in granting this variance. So could you maybe speak to any of those? If you think that there are any practical difficulties that would necessitate the moving of this vacuum to this location? Right.
And I think the only practical difficulty that I can see from the design side is just the way that the site lays out with the new parking. That it just doesn't, it's not conducive to leave it where it is because of the circulation to the car wash area and the entrance drive into the new proposed parking lot. That's right where the vacuum is now. So we just had to move it. We couldn't leave it where it was. So we're kind of stuck. It's not an obvious practical difficulty, but it is just from a standpoint of redesigning an existing condition.
Commissioner Rockwell, did you have? Okay. Commissioner Schrader.
I just wanted to thank you. I'm the council member that represents the area and just appreciate you stepping and reaching out to the neighbors, a neighborhood association, and getting feedback already to kind of take their input into this.
All right. Any further questions of the applicant? If there are none, we can see if anyone else would like to speak on this item. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. And commissioners, we have several applications before us, starting with a rezoning and conditional use permit. Actually, I might just have another question for staff. Mei Ling, what was this development standard related to vacuum facilities added after this site plan was approved a number of years ago, or did the vacuum facility just appear there, or was it overlooked, or just out of curiosity, has anything changed in that 17 or 18 years?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Wittenberg, please.
Commissioners, that there may have been a couple of factors at play. One being that the ordinance doesn't have a specific distance. It's just sort of a judgment call about proximity to residential uses, and I think it's possible that the previous location was judged to be far enough away from that residential use, maybe 60 feet away or so, that it met the standard. Second, the site was previously the subject of a lawsuit where there were some issues that we frankly just accepted or had to accept out of that settlement, I guess it was. I think those are probably the two factors that led to it being where it was. One of those two factors, at least.
Okay. Sounds good. Any further questions? If there are none, would someone like to start things off with a motion? Starting with item A, the rezoning. A total of 5 applications. Commissioner Rockwell.
I can get things going. I will move item A, the rezoning approval from C1 to C2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item A, the rezoning from C1 to C2. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Coleman.
Aye.
Colville.
Aye.
Ellison. Aye. Lipke-Pier.
Aye.
Magrino.
Aye.
Rockwell.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Sweezy.
Aye.
8-0.
That motion carries. Moving along, Commissioner Rockwell.
I will move item B, the conditional use permit approval with the one stated condition.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item B, the conditional use permit with the one stated condition. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Coleman.
Aye.
Colville.
Aye.
Ellison. Aye. Lipke-Pier.
Aye.
Magrino.
Aye.
Rockwell.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Sweezy.
Aye.
8-0.
And that motion carries. Moving along, Commissioner Rockwell.
I will move item C to return the variance to increase the maximum parking requirement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to return item C, the variance to increase the maximum parking requirement. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Coleman.
Aye.
Colville.
Aye.
Ellison. Aye. Lipke-Pier.
Aye.
Magrino.
Aye.
Rockwell.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Sweezy.
Aye.
8-0.
And that motion carries. Moving along, Commissioner Rockwell.
I will move item D, denial of item D, variance of the vacuum specific development standards.
Right, we have a motion to deny item D, the variance of specific development standards. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Rockwell.
Just briefly, this is like such a minor thing, but I do think we don't really have the legal basis to bring the vacuum cleaner closer to residential. I see where it is in the circulation, and that could be sort of annoying and would certainly entertain if you came back. I don't know about my other commissioners, placement up kind of further north in the site on the building side of the pumps would get that out of circulation, and also further from residential than it currently is. So I do think there are other options.
Right, any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to deny item D, the variance of the specific development standards. Clerk, please call the roll.
Coleman.
Aye.
Colville.
Aye.
Ellison. Aye. Lipke-Pier.
Aye.
Magrino.
Aye.
Rockwell.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Sweezy.
Aye.
8-0.
And that motion carries. Item E, site plan review. Commissioner Rockwell.
I will move approval of site plan with the 4 stated conditions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item E, the site plan review with the 4 stated conditions. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Coleman. Aye. Coville.
Aye.
Ellison. Aye. Lipke-Peer.
Aye.
Magrino.
Aye.
Rockwell.
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Davies. Aye. 8-0.
And that motion carries. That concludes our discussion on item 4. Also concludes our business for today. Our next meeting is November 13th, and we are adjourned.
10:13.